on to our final session, and hopefully they've been helpful. But this session, we're going to be talking about an unpredictable element of communication. Thus far, we've talked about the speaker having the right mindset. We've talked about the message itself that must be bathed in ethos, pathos, and logos for the art of communication, and then to drive that message home with clarity, accuracy, and relevancy because of the science of organization, language, and delivery. But now we get to a tricky part, and that is the third part of the communication process, the audience. Because here's the deal about the audience. While you could control being an outstanding speaker of excellence, you can control that. You can grow in that. You can own it. And you can also own how you prepare the message, but you cannot control an audience. They are out of your control. And therefore, it's the third element that we want to talk about with a principle that I sincerely believe in. And for 28 years, I have embraced this principle, and it has made all the difference in my life as a speaker, as a dad, and as a husband. So hopefully somewhere along the line, when you communicate to your kids or your spouse or other people in any form, this message hopefully will be words on target. Here's why. Because I believe the audience teaches or preaches 50% of your message. I feed off an audience. I relate to an audience, and as they give me feedback, I either get more excited, or if it's a hollow situation in which they seem like folding arms and going back and even snoring loudly, I'm not exactly excited about giving that message. I'm missing them. And again, the goal of communication is to be mutually understood. So it's really a dialogue of the deaf. I'm talking to myself. And yet I have to speak. I'm assigned a speaking engagement. I'm told this is part of my job description. And yet I have an audience that's extraordinarily unpredictable. Here's what I mean by that. You may have people in the audience that are deeply discouraged. They come in to listen to you just coming from a fight with their spouse or their kids. These people have different levels of motivation. There are more mature people in an audience. There's less mature people in an audience. There are people that are preoccupied. And adults are outstanding at paying attention to paying attention. Therefore, they may be looking at you and you're thinking, oh, we're really connecting, but they may be far off in some dreamland and they're just looking good on the exterior, but they are far from where you are on the interior. So how do you do that? The first thing you do is you have to come to grips with the fact that all you can do is all you can do. Duh. But that's still true. All you can do is to understand the principle of who's in control here. And let me just net this out right away. You're not in control as a speaker. You control yourself, you control the message, you do not control that audience because they have the will of their own and they can go their own independent way. So let me share with you what has given me peace and tranquility over the years that I have been able to speak. The solution that I have found is to know the difference between a goal and a desire. You know what my desire is as a speaker? Here's a desire. I want to do the four things a good speech does. I want to inform, I want to convince, I want to inspire, and I want to motivate. That's my desire. Not bad, huh? And that's what we've talked about earlier. You have to be a speaker, and you have to control the message in a way that allows that atmosphere in that room to receive your message. However, we cannot control an auditor any more than you can control the weather. And so knowing the difference between a goal and a desire, my desire, lots of desires. But I have to separate out the two. Here's the deal. My goal as a communicator to connect with every person in that room is unrealistic. It will not happen because they have a will of their own and they can go their own independent way. I cannot control an audience. I can only control myself. Draw a circle around yourself. You cannot control anybody in those seats Anybody that's listening to you, whether they're fully engaged or half engaged or totally withdrawn, that isn't your responsibility. Your responsibility is to do the best you can with what you have wherever you are, knowing the difference between a goal and desire. Let me define the terms. A goal is that which you alone control and you alone can accomplish. The key word there is alone. A desire is that which is out of your control and is dependent upon someone else, namely an audience or an auditor, to pull it off, to accomplish it. You have to separate out the two. Your goal is to be the best you can be. Your goal is to have the best message you can have. But your desire is not that you will change and motivate every single person in that room. It cannot be done. Separate out a goal versus a desire. Let me give you an illustration of a personal nature. Is it a good goal for you to have a great marriage? Most people would say it is. I say it's not. I say it's a desire. Of course, it's a desire to have a good marriage. But the reason it's not a goal is because a good marriage is dependent upon two people. And that person you're married to, if you are, is out of your control. They have a will of their own. They can go their own independent way. Is it a good goal to raise good kids? No, it's not. It's a good desire. But the kid has something to say about that. So you can be speaking and you can be bumping heaven. You can be talking about the greatest grandiose scheme of all time, and people get up and walk out. I've seen it happen. It may be an emergency. It may be they don't like you. It may be something, fill in the blank. You cannot control that individual. So separate those two out. All the desire in the world is good, but it cannot be a goal to make a great speech, a great talk, a great message. Let me expand on that. A goal has three qualities about it. You work for a goal, it has to do with activities, and it is predictable and scheduled. You control time. You control your work ethic. You control your own activities. That is a good goal. And guess what? Those should be done with excellence, and here's the key word that nobody really likes: discipline. Inward excellence and discipline. You work the deal. You create the activity to set aside time. You know exactly what it's going to take to speak on Thursday night at 7 o'clock or to run a small group on Wednesday night at 6. So you control that time. That's a good goal. What is a desire? A desire is just the opposite. A desire you do not work for, you pray for a desire. It's like the old guy used to say, I work as if everything depended upon me. I pray as if everything depended upon God. That's the serenity prayer as well, and you probably know what that prayer is. So you work for goals, you pray for desires, and don't get them mixed up. Second principle in the area of desires. Desires have to do with results. Do I want them to be motivated and persuaded? Do I want them to have a life change? Of course I do. I wouldn't be doing this if I didn't have the influence of being able to think that way, but you cannot control that. Desires have to do with results. And here's the point. If you and I become, as a communicator, dependent upon results, it will drive us crazy. I'm to give it and let it go. Do the best I can and let it go. All you can do is all you can do. And then finally, guess what? A desire is unpredictable and it's unscheduled. I've given messages before in which the angels descend. And I didn't think I'd done that great of a job, but I mean, people will come up and say, that was the most amazing, life-changing message I've ever heard. Whoa. And then there's times in which I think I've rung the bell at the carnival. And people will come up and say, well, I just was kind of drifting and I wasn't really into it. And I'm going, whoa, what's going on here? It's because the audience has different attitudes, different moods, different needs, different maturity levels. I can't control any of that. I just do the best I can with what I've got wherever I am. And that makes a good speaker. So, knowing the difference between the two, extremely important. Here's why we end with this. Because really, the message that I want to share with you is a life message. Knowing the difference between goals and desires, yes, can help you as a good speaker. Yes, it can create good communication between two people, your spouse, your kids. But really, what want to talk to you about is this. Knowing the difference between a goal and desire has everything to do with how you communicate this way, horizontally, and this way, vertically. You want peace and tranquility in your life? I've asked many audiences, how many of you would like peace? Now, you may think that's a blinding glimpse of the obvious, and it is, but I've never had anybody say, no, it's kind of on the list. Everybody in life wants a sense of shalom or tranquility or peace. So, where do we go from here? We remember that a speaker needs to be a person of what? Character, compassion, and content. Why? To answer three questions. And I trust you to care for me. Do you know what you're talking about? We've talked about the message itself, that how you say it is so much more important than we ever thought. To get to the point where people will receive the message and believe your message, which is the actual goal of all communication, mutual understanding. I should say desire, shouldn't I? Yes, it is. It is a desire. And then finally, we're going to be talking about the audience. And here's what you need to know about an audience. An audience comes expectant. I believe the majority do. And it's up to us to control the first two in order to have a fantastic result in the third. So thank you for this time you've spent with us. I hope it's been helpful. And God bless you as you go down the road.